Today we have in the studio Ratna Osman, who is the Executive Director of Sisters in Islam. Ratna, I want to get straight to the point.
Yes.
What is this I hear that a Muslim husband is allowed to beat his wife with a knotted handkerchief, but just around the face? Is this true that Muslim men can beat their wives?
Muslim men cannot beat their wives. In Quran, it does say about fadribuhunna, the word daraba. Yeah? Fadribuhunna means beat them. This is in Surah An-Nisa, verse 34, that talks about how to discipline a wife who caused disharmony in a marriage.
So you can discipline a wife if the wife is not behaving?
Yes, it does talk about steps on how to treat undisciplined wife, or what is called as nushuz. That you advise them, you separate bed with them, and if they are still persistent in their disobedience, you beat them. Quran talks, so the word nushuz is there. It is translated literally as disobedient, even though it has many meanings. Quran also talks about nushuz of husband in the same chapter, verse 1 to 8, that if you fear nushuz from your husband, then you can do this, mediate. But there is a different way of handling it. So the word daraba in Quran exists, which means beat, translated as beat. In this particular verse, interestingly enough, the word daraba, the same word, the same root word daraba, in other places in Quran, is not translated as beat. It's translated as leave. It's translated as to leave somewhere. God said, "Fadribu fil ard," and travel on face of earth.
Why is there this takeaway that you're allowed to physically beat your wife? You're saying it is there in the Quran, but there's a different way of interpreting it in a more just way. But why are people taking away with this notion?
This is why Muslims need to think and understand how Quran, the spirit of justice in Quran is very much gradual. When Allah talks about freeing slaves, in Quran, slavery was never banned. But today, any thinking Muslim scholars will not allow Muslims to take slaves outside. Same goes in the context of beating wife. We're talking about a revelation of 1,436 years old. We're talking about a patriarchal society and not limited to just the Arabian society, but everywhere. We're also talking about English law that has provision to allow men to beat their wives.
You were saying patriarchy was across civilization, whether you're a Christian or whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Buddhist.
So beating wives was not a creation of Quran, but Quran addressed it in ways that to address a society that just beat their wives every day. Even if late for cooking, whatever, they like to beat their wives. They want to beat their wives. Ownership of women.
So you're saying the Quran addresses this everyday injustice, everyday violation?
Yes, and Quran gives steps to it. So that the idea is that do not beat your wife, full stop. One day, after 1,400 years from it was revealed today, you do not beat your wife.
Because in Malaysia, in a country like Malaysia and quite a number of countries, domestic violence or beating a wife is a crime. In fact, Ratna,
yes,
Malaysia boasted that it was the first Muslim nation to pass a law against domestic violence. Tell us, what is it in the Quran that supports the idea that a man and wife are equal and there should be no beating by either party?
The last verse in the Quran talks about relationship between Muslim men and Muslim women are awliya. In Surah At-Tawbah, verse 70, Quran talks that Muslim men and Muslim women are awliya, are protectors one of another. What does it mean? It means that gradually from stop beating your wife, and again in Quran talks about a marriage of mawadda wa rahmah, which is love and tenderness. How do you achieve love and tenderness when the wife is scared because one day the husband might just beat her, even at the airport, right? Mm-hmm. Where is love and tenderness, which is a must, because it says in Quran. And like I said, the last verse talks about men and women being protectors of one another. How is man and woman able to protect one another when the so-called classical or very narrow interpretation saying that as a husband, I have a duty to discipline my wife and to beat her?
So they are protectors of each other. That's a really lovely thought.
It is. And it's the reality today that husband and wife are protecting each other. They are in a partnership and no longer a patriarchal medieval relationship of ownership. Yeah? Ownership of slave, ownership of wives. Today, that kind of language is no longer valid in Islam.
Thank you for that. So Ratna, what is basically saying, are Muslim men allowed to beat their wives?
No, they are not allowed to beat their wives. And in the justice concept of today, it can be sinful.
And the Quran supports this idea.
Yes, very much.
Well, to get more information about this, are Muslim men allowed to beat their wives? The link is at the description. Thank you.